Thank you for joining us for another episode of What's the TVV? I'm Public Information Officer Sue Jones. Have you ever wondered what is environmental programs and how does it relate to the city's efforts to foster a cleaner Victorville? To help us explore these topics is our Environmental Programs Manager, Dana Armstrong. Why don't we start by you telling me a little bit about what you do?
Well, I am the City of Victorville's Environmental Programs Manager. I have worked for the city for a long time, and I am responsible for the city's solid waste, recycling, household hazardous waste, and cleanup programs.
What got you interested in this topic?
You know, I have always been into the environment, and in college I studied environmental studies, and after college I was looking for a job where I could do something positive for the environment and see the tangible results of what I was working on.
That's wonderful, because our environment is so important to our prosperity, our future, our overall health. So I commend you so much for going into this.
Yeah, it's been a great career, and it's been very rewarding.
So can you tell us a little bit about what environmental programs does for the city?
There's sort of two sides of what the Environmental Programs Division does. On the one side, we administer the city's solid waste, recycling, organics, household hazardous waste programs, and all the programs that go along with that, like community cleanup and free dump days. And then on the other side, we have a real operational aspect to our division, which is a crew of very hardworking gentlemen that go out and pick up illegally dumped items and also abate abandoned homeless encampments. So they're the ones out there picking up, unfortunately, the dumped couches and mattresses and whatnot, and just trying to keep the city clean.
So, you know, a lot of us probably as residents were familiar with BERTEC coming to our home, or maybe here in the City of Victorville, it's Victorville Disposal.
Right.
Could you explain for us the relationship the city has with BERTEC?
So the city has a contract. We have a franchise agreement with Victorville Disposal for the collection of residential and commercial trash, recycling, and organic materials. As part of that agreement, BERTEC, or Victorville Disposal, also operates the city's recycling drop-off center over on Anacapa Road, and they also staff the city's household hazardous waste collection center over on Loves Lane.
I'm so excited to hear you talk about some of these drop-off locations. Could you go a little bit more into detail about how residents could take advantage of those free services?
Yes, the city has fantastic programs, which I'm so proud of. We've worked really hard over the years to develop a number of convenient, year-round, free programs for city residents. So the first pillar of this program is we have the Victorville Recycling Drop-Off Center over on Anacapa Road, and it's open Monday through Friday, 8 to 4, Saturdays, 8 to noon, 52 weeks per year. And city residents can drop off furniture, mattresses, appliances, electronics, tires, household recyclables like cardboard, all of those things they can drop off free of charge, unlimited amounts. It is for city residents. It's not for the businesses. So we're not there for the junk haulers to bring all the stuff in. But if you've got a couch, or you've got an old refrigerator, or you have a tire that's been sitting in your backyard, we will take all of those materials free of charge. We do require for the furniture and the tire drop-off that people show that they're a city resident by showing a photo ID and also bringing a current utility bill that has their name and their city service address. Now, we know a lot of people move around, so your photo ID doesn't have to have your city address. You just need to bring your utility bill that does show your city address. But that's a fantastic program, and already we have about 1,000 cars a month are using that facility. So 50 to 60 vehicles a day are going through there dropping off materials. The second thing that we have that's a really great program that people should know about is our Household Hazardous Waste Collection Center over on Loves Lane. It's behind the county fairgrounds, just off of Desert Knoll Drive. And it's open twice a week, Wednesdays and Sundays. Again, it's free. It's free not just for city residents, but also any resident of San Bernardino County. And you can drop off used oil, oil filters, household batteries, fluorescent lights, paint, and household chemicals, cleaners, old medications, sharps like needles, things like that. These are all materials that are hazardous and dangerous. They don't belong in the trash and they don't belong in the recycling. They require special handling, and we have a place 52 weeks per year, 2 days a week that people can come down and drop off those materials free of charge. We have another facility that's actually operated by Burtech. It's the Victor Valley Compost Facility. And at that facility, we have a free drop-off program, again, for city residents. If they have excess garden trimmings, like suppose you chop down a tree or take out a bunch of shrubs or something and you have more than will fit in your green organics can, you can bring as much as you want down to the compost facility over on East Abbey Lane, and again, show them your photo ID and your utility bill, and you can drop off any excess green waste free of charge.
Isn't there this thing there at the MRF, or the Material Recovery Facility, that's the Recycle Alley or something? Could you talk a little bit about that too?
I'm glad you mentioned that. So that's an additional facility. It's open Monday through Friday, 8 to 4, so not as much as the one on Anacapa Road, but it's similar to the one on Anacapa Road, but they do not take tires and they don't take furniture. But they will take mattresses, they'll take cardboard, they'll take scrap metal, appliances, electronics, free of charge. And that Recycle Alley drop-off center at the Victor Valley MRF, it's open to all residents of the Victor Valley. So if any residents of Adelanto, Apple Valley, Hesperia, unincorporated county areas, if they are listening to this podcast and they want to stop by Recycle Alley, they have an old mattress, we will take it free of charge for them as well. And I just remembered one other thing I want to mention about the drop-off center over on Anacapa Road. We are also giving away free compost. So people can bring recyclables and their old furniture, and then if they want, they can pick up to 50 gallons of compost, free compost, and take that home and use that in their gardens.
And is that free compost, that's because of our new recycling for organics?
Yeah, this is material that's been made out of residential green waste and food scraps.
That's really cool that now we're able to give something back to the residents free.
It's a way of saying thank you to the residents. We know we're asking them to do some extra work with sorting the green waste and especially the food scraps. And we want them to see that this material is actually getting diverted, something good and positive is coming from it, and they can use that compost as a soil conditioner and use it to make a raised bed or just enhance the soil in their yards.
Listening to you talk about all these free programs really makes me want to say, why do people throw things in the desert?
That is the $64,000 question, or even more. It really, I guess we need to just do more to meet people where they are and try to get the information to them about these free programs, because we have the programs, they're free, they're available 52 weeks per year, and we want people to come and use these programs. It's so much better to load up your truck and go to the recycling drop-off center and drop off that ugly, ratty sofa free of charge than to risk $1,000 fine or having your vehicle be impounded by dumping in the desert. There's no excuse for illegal dumping in Victorville. We have the programs. We just really want people to use them.
Now, if let's say you're someone who doesn't have a truck or you're unable to take something to drop it off, we have another program available, right?
Right. As part of our contract with Victorville Disposal, we do have free bulky item pickup for residents of homes that are serviced by the curbside carts. And that applies to single-family homes and now also to multifamily homes on cart service. So twice a year, you can call Burtec or Victorville Disposal directly and schedule a bulky item pickup of up to 5 items. So that could include furniture, it could include appliances, it even could include tires. So again, that's a free program every year on a rotating basis. So you could call this week and put 5 items out, and 2 months later you could call and put another 5 items out, and the next year you could call for another 5 items. It's a really convenient program. And I want to mention, we do also have, in addition to the drop-off and curbside pickup, we do also offer 3 times a year, the city sponsors, again with Burtec as a co-sponsor, free dump days, where people can just bring what you got. You know, if you have extra bags of trash or garden trimmings or furniture, you can bring it. During those events, we don't take electronics, we don't take hazardous materials or oil or paint, because we figure you can take those items to the drop-off center or HHW throughout the year, but any of those other items for the free dump day, we will accept that 3 times a year.
Wonderful. I mean, there's so many programs that people can take advantage of.
Yes.
So I'm wondering, what are some other ways that maybe community members could get involved? Do we have special events or some things that maybe they could get involved with?
We do have our community cleanup days twice a year in April and October. Those are citywide litter cleanup events. They can sign up on the city's website. And that's just, you go out for 2 or 3 hours. We'll give you a free t-shirt and discount coupons for lunch at local restaurants. Make a team with family or friends or coworkers. Go out and pick up litter all around the city. We usually get between 600 to 900 volunteers per event. That's twice a year, April and October. And then we also have a year-round Adopt a Street program. So if you really want to roll up your sleeves and go out and help us keep areas litter-free year-round, again, you can contact environmental programs, sign up. We'll put a sign up with your name on it, and we will provide you with the bags, the gloves, the litter sticks. The city will dispose of the bag trash. You just need to let us know when you're out there picking up the litter, and we'll coordinate getting the bags picked up. Those are the organized programs that we have where we encourage people to get involved. But I really think people can also get involved just by talking to family, friends, neighbors through their social networks, sharing the information that the city has put out there, to tell their neighbors, hey, did you know the city has free year-round drop-off? Did you know you can get rid of those 5-gallon buckets of oil that you have free of charge? And because the city's trying to get the word out, some people clearly haven't gotten the word yet, so they need to hear it from you. That would be a thing that I ask people to help us with, is to help spread the word and tell people about the programs that we have.
That's such a good point, Dana, because, it can be really hard to reach people. Not everybody uses social media.
Yes.
Not everyone's coming to our website. But word of mouth is very powerful, especially when it comes from somebody that you respect, someone in your close-knit, your family. It has a lot of influence, so that's a great point.
We have been doing bill inserts. I know a lot of people say, I never look at those bill inserts, but I really encourage people to look at them. There's a lot of good information in there. Every month we're putting information about these programs. And then if none of that reaches you and you've got something you need to get rid of and you don't know how to get rid of it, just Google Victorville Recycles or Dump It Right, VV. It's probably going to lead you to the city's website or environmental programs, and call us. We answer the phone, we're going to answer the phone. We get calls all the time from people saying, I have this, how do I get rid of it? And if we don't know, we'll find an answer and we'll get back to you. But we've gotten calls about, how do I dispose of a boat? I just bought a house. I have a 55-gallon barrel of oil that was left. We get these calls all the time, and I encourage people to call us, and we will help them figure out how to get rid of it lawfully, legally, and hopefully very either for free or very as inexpensively as possible.
So now we're talking a lot about, throwing things in the desert would be wrong. There's a lot that is wrong there, right? It isn't just that it looks bad.
I think it's really important that people understand it's a visual blight, which is not respecting our community and our neighbors, but it is also an environmental hazard, especially when you talk about things like oil or paint or chemicals. People need to remember, where do we get our water from? We get our water from wells, from underneath the ground. So if people are putting oil or paint out in the desert, even if they put a milk jug full of oil, by the time somebody finds that container could have cracked, the oil could be spilled, and that's a potential threat to our water.
One of the things that is really interesting, I'm sure you have to navigate this a lot in your job, is like the legislation, the things that are coming down from the state or, the government telling you how to change programs and so forth. Could you talk a little bit about how legislation's affecting your job?
The granddaddy of it all really, I would say, began back in 1989. Don't worry, I won't go through every year. But 1989 was when they passed Assembly Bill 939 that set a goal of 50% waste reduction for each jurisdiction. And that's when the city implemented curbside recycling way back in 1995. And then things were kind of quiet for a while, and then the state got very ambitious with their waste reduction goals. And so starting around 2012, they started not just setting goals, but mandates. And then really the big one recently has been Senate Bill 1383, which was passed in 2016, and the regulations went into effect in 2022. And that's the one, this wasn't a suggestion, this wasn't a goal, this was a mandate, and the regulations for SB 1383 were very specific and prescriptive. So that law has really been the driving force for the past probably, 4 or 5 years, really pushing jurisdictions to standardize programs and implement these really aggressive programs to divert material. And that's when we're really digging into that trash can, trying to get the food waste out, as well as the organic material. So yeah, the state keeps things interesting.
But what would you say is the overall motivation for that? There has to be something good about that.
There is, and SB 1383 and the mandatory commercial organics and the mandatory commercial recycling, it really all goes back to the state's climate goals in terms of greenhouse gases and reducing the amount of methane that's released. And methane is a potent climate pollutant, is a much more potent greenhouse gas than CO2. And when you put organic materials in a landfill, you crush them and cover them with dirt, and they do decompose, but they decompose without oxygen, and that creates methane. And methane, when it's released to the atmosphere, is a greenhouse gas. That's the concern. And what the state legislature has been passing these laws, they're saying, hey, we're going to try and do what we can in the state of California to address these climate concerns. And so it's all about getting organics out of the landfill and into a composting operation. Climate issues aside, there are a lot of other positive benefits for recycling and diverting materials. I mean, through recycling, you're providing business and industry with raw materials that they need to make new products. You're providing jobs for the people that work in those industries, and there's energy savings and water pollution savings from using recycled materials instead of raw materials. So recycling and composting, any way you look at it, there are positive benefits from doing this activity.
Well, I have to say, from where I'm sitting, The city is making it super easy. They're bringing the cans to you. You just have to put the stuff in the right can. You have free services to drop the items off. You can even schedule the bulk item pickup. As someone motivated to try to protect the planet, I'm really happy about what the city's doing.
I'm glad that that's your experience, and hopefully that's other residents' experience as well. And the point that I like to make to people is, a lot of times in our world, and there's a lot of things in our world that seem overwhelming or negative, and you go, what can I do about that? You feel that it's all beyond your ability to have any impact at all. And that's not the case with these programs. This is something you can do. It really makes a difference. People go, well, it's just my little amount. But you have to remember, there's 135,000 plus or minus residents of Victorville now. That adds up. It really adds up. Or one aluminum can. It doesn't matter. It's just one aluminum can. It adds up. 135,000 people a day, 365 days a year. It adds up to millions. And we see the impact when you go to the materials recovery facility where the recyclables go, or if you go to the compost facility and you see the trucks coming in filled with recyclables, filled with organics. You see the big piles out at the compost facility where they're composting the material. You see it coming in, and then you see after 4 to 5 weeks it going out and it's finished compost material. It's happening, and it's all because of those individual actions. And this is something that we all can do as individuals or families, and it does make an impact. So, you can't do everything, but do what you can. And this is definitely a situation where individual actions add up to make a huge positive impact.
Well, you have shared so much with us, Dana. And I just want to applaud you and your team. You have a thankless job in some ways to be dealing with trash and recycling and things like that, but your team is so hardworking and so well-meaning, and you just give so many great programs, and I just want to give you a lot of kudos for that.
Well, thank you. Yeah. And I give big kudos to the people in the Environmental Programs Division, our hardworking team that's out there every day picking up illegally dumped items and abating the abandoned homeless encampments. They have a rough job, and they work very hard every day trying to keep the city clean and be a nice place to live, as they say, live, work, and play.
Here in Victorville, shopping local is more than just a transaction. It's a commitment to our community's vitality and growth. That's why we're excited to launch the Keep It Local, Shop Victorville campaign, and we want you to join in on the fun.
For the next 8 weeks, we'll be running a social media campaign where we're going to ask the community where are the best local spots in Victorville.
Each week, we'll post a new prompt asking questions like, who has the best burger? Where's the top pizza joint? And who really serves up the best sushi?
It's your chance to show some of your favorite spots some appreciation and crown the true gems here in Victorville.
Comment your favorites to enter them into this bracket-style competition to see who wins the title of Victorville's Best.
Together, let's celebrate the heart of our community, the businesses that contribute so much to our local economy.
It's time for our City of Victorville News Roundup. Our City of Victorville Hollow Boo drive-through trunk or treat is creeping around the corner. If you're looking for a fun, safe, and free way to trick-or-treat, join us Friday, October 25th from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. at City Hall. Attendees must remain in their vehicles and will queue into place on Civic Drive near Park Avenue. It's not too late to participate in our Victorville Veterans Day celebration on November 11th. We're seeking participants in our parade and veterans to be honored during the ceremony. The parade application and veteran information form are available on our website at victorvilleca.gov/Veterans Day. The deadline is October 13th. Our Keep It Local, Shop Victorville campaign is well underway, and we want you to join in the fun and help us determine which businesses are Victorville's best. Every Saturday through mid-November, you can comment on our post with your favorite business to enter them in this bracket-style competition. We can't wait to uncover Victorville's hidden gems with you. In December 2023, the Green Cart program launched to approximately 32,000 residential customers. Since then, city residents have diverted nearly 8,000 tons of organic material, such as bagged food waste and loose yard trimmings. That's 15.6 million pounds of organic waste that has been diverted from the landfill. Completely funded by development impact fees, new lights have been installed at Hook Park to fully illuminate the soccer field located at the south end of the park. This project included the installation of 5 70-foot light poles, 23 1,500-watt LED fixtures, and the necessary infrastructure to support the new lighting. We've talked about the right way to dispose of items in our city. Now we're going to talk about what happens when people dispose of items illegally. And joining me is our code enforcement official, Jorge Duran. So thank you so much for joining us today, George.
Sure.
Do you want to tell us a little bit about your job here at the city?
I started as a code enforcement officer about 20 years ago, and I love the trade, I love the work, and have been doing it ever since.
So how do you define illegal dumping in our city?
It's the act of illegally disposing of trash.
Does that include dirt and other things like that?
It sure does.
And that's kind of unusual. Maybe we wouldn't think of dirt because we are in the desert, right? But so people actually, what is that, like taking dirt from their home and just throwing it out in the desert? That would also be illegal?
Absolutely, yeah. We also see contractors perhaps, who are building a pool, completing a large excavation project, who illegally dump large piles of dirt on vacant land.
Would you say the biggest problem is from residential dumping, or is it commercial, or is it both?
It's both. We see it from the residential side as an opportunity, perhaps. On the commercial side, we certainly know that they know better, and they have a greater sense of responsibility to make sure that they are properly disposing of trash. But we certainly see both occurrences.
What happens to people who are caught illegally dumping waste in our city?
They're fined. They're hefty fines, $1,000 civil fine at the very least. They could also face criminal charges as a misdemeanor. Their vehicle could also be impounded. They're also facing cost recovery for the costs of city crews to go out and abate the trash.
So that can be a very expensive proposition.
Absolutely.
And then you would actually have a misdemeanor penalty against you.
Yeah, you'd have to go to court and before a judge plead your case for the misdemeanor fine for littering.
How is it that we typically catch people? Is it through residential reports, or is your team patrolling, or?
It's certainly both. I think the public has grown aware of the occurrences of illegal dumping, and certainly the officers patrolling, working 7 days a week, has added to that awareness. But certainly we have a lot of engaged and increasingly now even more engaged residents who have a very zero tolerance to illegal dumping.
That's great for us.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Surprisingly, a lot of the reports for illegal dumping also come from our city teams. We have over 500 employees that drive around from assignment to assignment, and they're empowered to report some of these activities that they see.
I know I've done that myself. I've come into my desk, I've seen something, out when I'm driving to work. I'll come in and I'll hit that big button on the website that says report a problem, and then I report something I've seen on the way to work.
Yeah.
And that's great.
A true indication that we have a lot of people that are engaged and really care about the topic.
So if you're a resident and you see, an illegal dump site, or you see someone in the process of getting rid of waste illegally, what do you suggest they do?
Well, if they see somebody actively dumping, certainly they can call 911. The dispatchers generally will forward that to a code enforcement officer that may be on duty, and often what we find is both a police officer and a code enforcement officer will respond. But if they don't see the act happening, but they notice a new dump pile, certainly report it. It's very important for us to get there very quickly and abate it to eliminate the chance of a repeat occurrence.
And if it's not like a 911 scenario, how would you suggest that they report?
They should call code enforcement. They can report it telephonically through our hotline at 760-955-5104, through our email. We respond very quickly. or in person. And matter of fact, the telephones are answered 24 hours a day, even when City Hall is closed.
There's also a report button on the website, right?
Yep, that's right.
You know, a lot of times, if it is a commercial situation, and, you know, sometimes there's people out there that aren't very responsible, you know, like it's the company that's doing the dumping, it isn't the resident themselves. What tips do you have if you're a resident and you want to hire like a junk hauler or something?
Question the bid, number one. Ask for a dump receipt. Certainly if it's too good to be true, it's probably too good, meaning the price. And so it's important that the resident question their vendor or their contractor to make sure that they're going to be disposing of the trash lawfully.
And when you mentioned the dump receipt, that's really good. So that's actually them taking it to the dump, getting a receipt from it, and showing that that's where they disposed of it.
It certainly also allows them to be sure that their trash was lawfully disposed of.
What if I am the resident and I hire a junk hauler, instead of taking it to the dump, they dump my personal property out in the desert? Do I get in trouble?
You could. Yeah, certainly. The officers obviously are looking for any indication of the origin of the trash, and on occasion we'll contact the homeowner, perhaps, that we later find hired some help to dispose of their trash, and may get fined. They're responsible to make sure that their waste ends up being disposed of lawfully.
When you guys come across these illegal dump sites, what does the city do to abate them?
Working in conjunction with our sanitation team, we'll comb through it, and when we call it an all clear, where we've retrieved the pieces of information that we need in order to complete our investigation, we'll send it to our sanitation team to remove the debris.
How quickly do they clean up these sites?
We'll try to do it in the next day.
Oh, that's pretty quick.
Our sanitation team has also expanded their workforce as well, and it's the idea is to eliminate the blight condition that is impacting our communities, perhaps impacting a business. We don't not only see illegal dumping occurring in open desert areas, businesses are also impacted by illegal dumping, where we see large pieces of furniture or mattresses dumped on commercial bins. So certainly it's in their interest as well to kind of get that out of the way and back to business to make sure that their business is set up in a presentable way for their patrons.
Do we actually catch people?
We sure do. And we catch them both either by the officer or by involved and engaged residents.
I'm just assuming that we're able to be more proactive now because of Measure P and an investment in more co-compliance officers. Is that true?
That's absolutely true. The fact of adding more officers has allowed us to spend the added time to investigate these leads, basically. The officer has the bandwidth, the ability, the time to really spend some time to identify the source. It's important that the officers get it right, that if we're going to hold somebody accountable, that we have the pieces of information and the facts that we need in order to sustain this fine.
So, George, you've been mentioning a lot of informed residents are helping us with our, catching of illegal dumping. For residents that are just learning about this topic, what would you suggest, or how could they look for signs and help you all with your efforts?
First, have them become familiar. They're the experts of their communities. They know what's abnormal. They know what's new. They quickly recognize that particular pile wasn't there a day prior. So call code enforcement. If they don't, we don't need them to have all the pieces of information in place. We don't need them to have a video. It allows the assigned officer to equally recognize that environmental change and very quickly abate it so we can reset the area and start really focusing some surveillance methods as well.
Oh, so you're making me think that maybe people have a favorite dump site and they'll come back to it.
True. The old saying, if the crime's successful, it will likely repeat itself. And so these are often people who are dumping trash or opportunists. And if successful and not caught, they will likely come back. So it's important for us to reset that area, working together with the resident to add some monitoring and add that to our hotspot for monitoring.
Do you have any idea of the expense or the manpower somehow to quantify how draining it is on our city resources to address this issue?
It really is. It takes at least, for sure, it takes an officer to investigate it, potentially two if it's a comprehensive situation. We have to mobilize our sanitation team. There's the cost of mobilizing the vehicles, the cost of taking the trash. This is, of course, a smaller dump pile. So often sometimes we do come across some very elaborate and large dump piles, similar to also homeless encampments where the trash piles are quite elaborate.
In addition to it just looking bad and maybe having like a negative health impact, it's costing the city a lot of money to address this issue.
Well, certainly it's costing us a lot of money, and that's money that can be reallocated and spent in other city services.
And I know our public's mad about this issue, and we are too. So it's great to have their help in, putting eyes on it for us.
Yeah, increasingly the public has grown passionate about this topic, have kind of taken ownership of that, have taken ownership of their communities, and we're certainly seeing that just in the increase of reports, which allows us to expeditiously address those conditions, which has a domino effect to ensure that their communities are appealing, safe, clean.
So based on your experience, where is most of the illegal dumping occurring?
A most common area in the city are areas that are adjacent to open desert areas that don't see a lot of traffic, have perhaps dead-end streets.
So maybe they think that nobody sees them doing it.
Perhaps out of sight, out of mind. But this is where it's important for our staff to notate those areas and mobilize resources such as wireless cameras.
What are some of the other things that code compliance does to help clean up our city and beautify it?
Yeah, aside from illegal dumping, the officers their objective is to maintain the appeal and enhance the appeal of the city for our residents, right, and for our business, for our local businesses. We're doing things like proactive enforcement through our community enhancement program, really working hand in hand with our residents to bring forth, the most common property maintenance issues that add to blight. And these are minor, very easy to fix issues. Maybe it's a basketball court that is maybe dilapidated and broken that needs to be discarded, some weeds, removal of junk cars. Our homeless engagement team is also very much engaged in addressing blight. As we've seen, the creation of encampments often brings forward blight and accumulation of trash and so forth. So we're trying to do a dual approach here, is offer them services, quality services, shelter at our wellness center, while also quickly relieving the impacts that those encampments have on businesses and residents that are adjacent to this. In addition to addressing some of the blight issues, code is involved in supporting our parks department, for example, and in trying to make sure that the activities that our residents and our patrons are encountering there are in order, are orderly. Our parks are not damaged in any way. We certainly also support a lot of other departments in addressing sight distance issues that our engineering team may see, bringing attention to some of the medians that need some help that are perhaps in high visibility areas. So the team definitely embraces a team collaboration with the city to support other departments.
And before we wrap up, I just want to thank you and your team for all your hard work. And really, I think people in the community may not understand that code compliance really is here to preserve our way of life and to make our existence here in the city a good one. It isn't to be punitive. It's really to help preserve that way of life and keep order in our neighborhoods and things.
A lot of work and a lot of credit goes to the officers, including officers in our animal control department who, although they primarily focus on animals, they certainly have a large role in playing some of the upkeep and the appeal of our city.
Great. Thank you so much, George.
You're welcome.
Thanks for listening. What's the TVV is produced by the City of Victorville. If you have a topic you would like to see on future episodes, leave a comment or review on your preferred platform.